Smooth 98.1. Here we are for a Friday. I'm not sure about Feel Good because Rotus, I have the stories for Tech Friday, Business Express.
I tried. It
just wasn't happening. So, welcome to Business Express for a Friday. You've already heard Rotus's voice. You can even find him, see his face up on youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. And see what he has to say up on Twitter at Rotankut. And of course, we are at Smooth981FM. For the next 15 minutes, we'll be talking about techie things in business. You can join the conversation by leaving a comment on the live stream on YouTube, and you can also send WhatsApp messages into 0809 440 981 and Twitter as well. I've already told you where to find both of us. Use the hashtag BusinessExpress981. Rotus, I'm not going to introduce these stories. You do it. I'm too sad.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, first of all, the technology stocks have gotten absolutely hammered over the last 24 hours. The NASDAQ in the United States that has, Apple, Google, Alphabet, and so on, all those big stocks, I think it fell by about 3 or 4%. Tech stocks in Hong Kong also falling very heavily as well, which is kind of odd because 24 hours ago, 48 hours ago, when the US Fed raised its benchmark interest rates, Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, he tried to, prop up the US market saying that they're trying to tame inflation, and it sounded like things were okay. I don't know what happened. I think I'm blaming the Bank of England's governor, Andrew Bailey. He just came out and said there's a possible recession that could happen in the UK. There's a tight labor market, blah, blah, blah. He just said a few things that I think unsettled markets. So that's why we saw the tech stocks falling as heavily as they did.
That's that. Now, invested in something called Global Artificial Intelligence Cities. I'm just like,
yeah,
making me cry today.
I'm telling you, it was just pretty ugly. So tech stocks are getting really, really hammered. I think they tend to fall when inflation fears are high because it affects valuations of those tech stocks. But other than that, the big news that's coming out over the last 24 hours, or back in the last 2 or 3 hours, is from Bloomberg that China has ordered states, firms, governments, owned entities to stop using foreign PCs, foreign manufactured PCs within the next 2 years. It's something they've been on for a while. They've been trying to, get on this for a while, but now they've come out and said that, 2 years time, they need to exit using that. Apparently it's going to affect about 50 million PCs in China. The only 2 stocks that were on the rise on the mainland Chinese exchange, the Shanghai Composite Index, I think, or it's the CSI 300. One of the 2 was Lenovo and another company called Kingsoft. They were the only 2 tech stocks that were up. Now, the reason why Lenovo stock was up is because Lenovo is a Chinese company, and they stand to benefit in terms of market share if state-owned entities and state-owned firms and so on stop using foreign-owned PCs. HP and I think Dell, which will have a market share in China, stand to lose out if this follows through. So I don't know. China, look, they've been cracking down on tech firms. They've been, there's a very nationalist vibe going on.
I have to say, doesn't this just feed into the wider Chinese trend that's been going on in China, where they're trying to become more self-sufficient, pull away from not pull away from the rest of the world, but at least be less reliant on imports and everything from the rest of the world? Because and also Xi Jinping not really going to as many international meetups and events as he used to. So something's going on with China.
Yeah, in fact, they even just came out today saying that nobody should criticize their zero COVID policy. They have this, there was a port, I think it was a port in Shanghai. There was 1 COVID case and they shut down the entire port. Can you imagine shutting down Apapa ports at Tinkan because 1 person got COVID? So Shanghai has been under lockdown. People are starting to complain and people are starting to report. So
you haven't been seeing the videos of them howling at the moon and, into the night.
It's insane. So they came out and the government saying nobody should criticize their zero COVID policy. But to your point, that is correct. Look, I don't know if China can successfully do that because we're in a global economy. China is arguably the manufacturer of the world. They depend on exports to other countries. So if they pull this off, it will be very interesting. And I expect other countries to retaliate. We've got Fisayo has joined us. Fisayo, what do you think of this China move to stop using foreign-owned PCs?
I mean, good morning, everyone. I believe China has been on this way for a long time, right? So it's not a shock to many people to hear, right? It's been nationalistic in its approach, even for tech companies. If there's Google in the US, there is Google equivalent in China. If there is Facebook in the US, there is
they've got their Weibo, they've got everything.
Exactly. So they always have to create alternatives. So, and of course, when in this new age that we're seeing, right, anything can be used as warfare, right? Anything can be used as warfare, including currency, including technology, solutions, right? So China is to a large extent is preparing for any eventualities, right? And then of course, because there are concerns around cyber, espionage, happening through technology, right? So there are technology issues around it. So I believe China is trying to just say, okay, guys, if you're a state-owned thing, don't use devices from other places, let's use our own and all of that. And there are two implications for that, right? There is an intention that, okay, let's protect ourselves. But the second one about let's monitor everyone, right? Because if you use Chinese product, it means that Chinese government can, to a large extent, monitor what you do with your computers, with your devices, outside of that. So those are two things to look out for. But again, China has always been on this path for a long time. And of course, Rotus said that it's a global economy that China, this fight is between China and the US, right? It's between, Lenovo and
hold
HP.
on one second. Hold on one second, Fisayo. What do you say to what Benga Kamun has sent in? He says, if China is becoming protectionist and the US decides to retaliate, it's going to be ugly because they're not the only ones with alternatives. Tell us what you think.
Yes, so that's the thing. So China and US has been on this thing for a long time. Of course, President Trump brought it to light, when he's been shouting, make America first, make America great again. And shouting China, right? So it has always been between the two of them because they're the biggest economies in the world, right? So outside of the two of them, no one else matters. So the US can retaliate. The US has always been retaliating anyway. It's been imposing taxes on Chinese goods so that, President Trump thought that they devalued their currency intentionally so that they can get better export. Again, this rivalry has been happening between the US and China for a long time. So if China, if US decide to retaliate, it means that they will use Lenovo laptops. That's fine, right? China is big enough for Lenovo for many of their services. So they really don't depend on the US or other economies to be able to do the things they want to do. And of course, Africa will continue to buy it because they don't have a choice anyway. So again, it's the way the global economy is set up.
Right.
Gotcha. WhatsApp, I want to quickly get your thoughts on this new update on WhatsApp. Tech Cabal has written an article saying that admins in a group can now delete many messages that they want without any. Admins have more control. I haven't checked out all the other new updates on WhatsApp. Or anybody who out there, just go to your WhatsApp on your either iOS or Android store. You'll see an option to update your WhatsApp. You can have updated mine. I'm still looking at it. So, Fisayo, what do you make of the concerns from Tech about on the new powers for admins in WhatsApp?
I've always been against all these, superpower things, all of that. Yeah, it doesn't make sense under any guise, right? Of course, I understand that there are some times that groups are set up, for a certain purpose, and then only conversations around those things are needed. So there's a need to balance both powers. But again, on the flip side is that admins with a certain ideology would only allow conversations around what they agree on. I remember there was a WhatsApp group I was on. It was a workplace WhatsApp group. President Trump was still president then, right? So of course they will say something that I disagree with, then I'll come up, defend the actions like this makes sense from a policy perspective. So at some point they have to stop me from talking about, they have to stop the group from talking about politics, particularly, right? Because it's a workplace group, right? So it's colleagues that are there. But because they didn't like the conversations around, the divisiveness of President Trump, then they're like, okay, guys, stop talking about President Trump again, and nobody should bring up political issues again. So again, if
were you the black sheep of that WhatsApp group?
No. I was just a member. I mean,
you are the Black Sheep member.
Yes, he
was.
Yeah.
Yes, I was Black Sheep member because everybody, hated Trump. I was the only one that seemed to be open to him, right? So they had to stop me particularly from doing that, right? And I felt that was so unfair because they didn't agree with me. And of course, if you can't agree with me, argue your case, right? If you can't argue your case, then move on. If you're not open enough to hear a contrary opinion, then why are we in the workplace in the first place? So again, essentially, they stopped me from talking about Trump, about American politics, essentially, and of course that was the end of that conversation. But if admins had the power, they could have just been deleting my tweet, my
your messages,
text, my messages, and then again, I think it's totally bad. I think everybody should be able to say what they want to say whenever they want to say, irrespective of who is offended or not.
Interesting. What do you think?
Sometimes you say something, and I'll just have to start shaking my head.
No, it's we all I mean, nobody should take that right away from everyone. Everyone should be able to say what they have to say.
If you I don't know, Shokwe, what you think. If you had admin and you create a group, I think the group should follow your rules as the admin.
Rotus, I'm with you on that. I'm sorry if I've created, like one of those bridesmaids groups that they like to put you in. If I've created one of those and you start talking about Trump or you start trying to sell something to me, I'm going to want to have the powers to be able to unmute it and make sure that the conversation stays where we're going to go. For example, Fisayo, work. We just keep it about work and not about former president Trump.
Well, what happens at work? So I think, again, the challenge is not about work. They're the ones that will bring the topic. So maybe they see a CNN headline. Of course, we all know that CNN can be economical with the truth when it comes to their headlines, right? So they bring some, headlines, or maybe Washington Post, Washington Journal headline, or New York Post, New York Times headline, right? And then say something. Then we look at details and they're like, guys, this is not what this thing is saying. Stop being, they bring it because they expect that they get popular support. But once I dissent, it becomes, oh, Fisayo, you are too this, you are too that. Again, it's what happens at those WhatsApp groups. So, I mean, Sope, I agree with you. If a WhatsApp is set up for a particular purpose, I think we should find a way to ensure that everyone sticks to the rule. And the only way to can do that is to empower admin. But again, the extreme of it is that then, of course, it means that when it comes to ideological discussions, it's only the ideology of the admin that reigns supreme, or that'll be allowed in the group. So that is not
welcome to
good.
Twitter.
Yes.
The new version. All right, let's quickly take your messages up on WhatsApp. Henry Emmanuel says, oh, hey, Black Sheep Fisayo. Admins need more control on WhatsApp, but it should be used properly. Whilst Yinka Bolu says, our own office WhatsApp group almost got some people sacked. Oh, okay. We have to close the entire group to avoid stories that touch. Extended family WhatsApp group is another horror place. So this is a welcome move by Meta. Okay. There you have it. You've heard from the people. You've heard from our listeners. And that is that for Business Express. At least, Rotus, really? The stories may not, yes, Fisayo, really. The stories may not have been as positive as we wanted, but at least we got some joy out of them, Yes. So make sure you can continue the conversation. If you have more to say about WhatsApp and admins, and Fisayo always has something to say about that, you can take it to Twitter and you can find Rotus and Fisayo. Rotus is at Rotankut and Fisayo is at Aremo Fisayo. So go check both of them out. And of course, check us out at Smooth 91 FM. Okay, Rotus, next week is another week.
I will try. I'll try and find something. We'll be hopeful. Cross our fingers.
And Fisayo, see you